This is the Ecoflow Delta2 solar generator, which is an upgrade to the very, very popular Ecoflow Delta. Now they call these things a solar generator because you charge them up with power from the sun via these solar panels, which I'll show you at the end of the video. And it charges the big battery, and then from this you can run all kinds of things like lights and torches and anything that runs out of a power point pretty much. So they call it a solar generator, unlike a traditional generator that charges electricity by running a motor. This charges it from the sun. That's a 1 kilowatt battery pack. Well, it's 1024 watt hours, which is just a bee's dick over a kilowatt. So we'll call it a kilowatt. So we've got a 1 kilowatt battery. On the back here, it has 4 power points, and underneath there's a cigarette port or 12 volt charger, whatever you want to call it. And I'll talk more about these in a moment. On this side, there's nothing, just some ventilation for air to blow through, where there's some cooling fans in there just to help keep the unit cool when it's working hard. At the front, there's a display. There's 4 USB-A ports, 2 USB-C ports, and 2 of the USB-A ports are fast charge ports. And on this side, there's a plug where you can plug it into another one of these batteries and expand it up to 2 kilowatts, or a third one, and you can go up to 3 kilowatts. So it's 1 kilowatt, expandable up to 3 kilowatts via a little cord and another battery. And the batteries look exactly the same as the unit, but without the ports and the features. They're simply just a storage device. Now, let's go through it in a bit more detail. As stated, 4 USB-A, 2 of them are fast charge and 2 USB-C. I've already spoken about the expandable batteries. Now here, it's got 4 power points, and this is rated up to 1800 watts. So you can plug in 1800 watts worth of devices in here. You might have an 1800 watt angle grinder. You can run that on its own. Or you might have a TV that might pull 150 watts, a computer that might pull 300 watts, whatever you want, up to 1800 watts. So you can have 4 times 450 watts, 2 times 900 watts, or 1800 watts, and that's maximum. Obviously you can have anything below that. The cigarette lighter adapter down here is just that. It's a cigarette lighter adapter, the same as your car. You can plug a cigarette port in there. I think they just call them a 12 volt port these days because not many people smoke anymore. Up here, there's a little orange port. That is to plug your solar panels. That's solar input, and I'll show you that at the end when I talk about the solar panels. Next to that, there's an AC port where you can plug it into your power point at home, into the mains, and charge it at home. Now this charges at a whopping 1200 watts. Remember, it's only 1 kilowatt, so in theory it should take a bit under an hour. I'd say allow about an hour for it to fully charge. It might be a little bit less from empty. When it first starts charging, it takes a bit to ramp up, and then when it gets high into the 90%, it'll start ramping down a little bit. So if you allow an hour, you'll fully charge it, and you'll get dozens and dozens of mobile phone chargers off there. The same time it takes to charge a phone, you can probably charge, I don't know, 70 or 80 phones in one hit off here. Anyway, that's 70 or 80 phones worth of power. Right, that's the unit. Now, the upgrade to the Delta 2 from the Delta, apart from the Delta was a slightly larger battery, but the main upgrade is an invisible upgrade. You can't see it. And what that is that up until now, Ecoflow and most other battery companies have used lithium ion batteries. Now they use lithium iron phosphate or LiFePO4 batteries. Now LiFePO4 batteries are different, or lithium iron phosphate batteries are different to normal lithium ion. I'll read out something that I've dug up recently on the internet. Now this is just a generic internet search. This isn't from Ecoflow. This is from something called Super 8 batteries or something, lithium batteries. Anyway, this is a non-biased write-up about lithium iron phosphate. Lithium iron phosphate batteries, otherwise known as LiFePO4 or LFP, offer lots of benefits compared to lead acid batteries and other lithium batteries. They've got a longer lifespan. This battery is rated to up around 3,000 charges, whereas the traditional lithium ion batteries will go up to 500 to 800 charges before they start losing a bit of memory. This should get up to around about 3,000 charges, and even by then it should still maintain 80% of its memory, and as a result this comes with a 5-year warranty. But anyway, let's keep reading. It offers a longer lifespan, no maintenance, extremely safe, lightweight, improved discharge and charge efficiency, just to name a few. Life PA4 batteries are not the cheapest in the market, but due to a long lifespan and zero maintenance, it's the best investment you can make over time. Now that is from a battery website, not an Ecoflow website, so that's totally unbiased. So basically, the main benefit of a Life PA4 battery over a typical lithium ion battery, or the main benefit of a lithium iron phosphate over a regular lithium ion, is that it's safer, they're much safer, and you should be able to get about 4 times or maybe even more longevity out of the battery. So that's why it's got a 5-year rating. Now, let's quickly overlook some of the specs here. It's 12 kilograms, it's 400 by 281 by 211 millimeters. Capacity 1024 watt hours. It's Wi-Fi and Bluetooth supported. This is app compatible, unlike the original Delta. But worth noting is that you don't have to have the app. If you're not into apps, if you're not into technology and stuff, that is fine. This will still work. But the beauty of an app is that you can adjust it. I mentioned earlier this can charge up to 1200 watts. You might not want it to charge at 1200 watts. You might prefer to only charge it at 600 watts. By using the app, you can adjust that. If you've got a 600 watt generator and you want to charge it off a generator, you might want to charge it at 400 watts so that you can leave 200 watts to run a couple of lights or something. So the app allows you to do that. And also, from even way out in the middle of nowhere, if this is at home in the backyard charging, I can tell how much power it's got, whether it's still charging, whether it's been stolen or anything from out in the bush, by using the app. So the app is certainly handy, but it's not essential for the operation of the unit. This charges from a cigarette lighter in the car as well, and that actually goes into the same port as the solar, what's at the back here, as the solar port, and that'll charge at around about 100 watts. Solar charging, it'll take up to 500 watts maximum solar charging. These solar panels in front of me here are 220 watt panels, but it'll take up to 500 watt solar charging. Battery info, it's LFP, cycle life, 3,000 cycles to 80% capacity. So once you've charged it from, a cycle is from empty to full. Once you've drained it, filled it, filled it 3,000 times, 3,000 times, that's around about 8 years if you use it every day, it should still charge to around about 80%, as opposed to the normal lithium ion, which is around about 500 to 800 charges. It has over voltage protection. Yes, it has an overload on the, it's on this end. So if you do go over, it will trip out and remain safe. And it's got an overload reset button, so it's got overload protection. It has a surge of 2700 watts. So even though it's only rated to 1800 watts, if you plug something in here that goes to start up, some devices will take a surge to start them. It'll surge up to 2700 watts before it trips the overload. But if you try and sustain that, it'll overload. That's only a surge. It's got over temperature protection, short circuit protection, low temperature protection, low voltage protection, and over current protection. All right, I think I've pretty much covered it. I'll tell you where I've been using it, and then I'm going to tell you about the solar panels. I've been charging it from the solar panels every day. Depending on a day, like today, it probably only takes about 4 hours, maybe 5 hours if it's empty. Normally I put it on there about 7 o'clock in the morning and it's done by lunchtime. I've been running my television off it. Every night I put my TV on around about 6 o'clock or so, and this will run it till 10 or 11 o'clock. It normally gets 4 or 5 hours without too many problems. My editing computer at home, I'll plug that into this and get a few hours of editing before it drains it. I ran a full load in my washing machine off this. The load was chock-a-block full. And now I've got an 8 kilogram washing machine, and when it was absolutely loaded and full and under pressure, the most it drew was 650 watts. So this handled it easily. That was when it agitates. It goes, that was 650, then none, then 650, then none. But anyway, it ran the full cycle and it only used 18%. This was 100%. It ran the full load of washing and it only drained it down to 18%, and it stayed well under the wattage, so it chews washing machines up, no worries. An average load, which might only be just a few bits of clothing, it only takes 8% off this battery. Now, the microwave, I plugged my microwave into here, a frozen meal, a 6.5 minute frozen McCain's meal off this battery took more power than what it takes to run a load of washing. So just let that sink in for a moment. I wouldn't have known that if it wasn't for this. I don't know why, but my 1000 watt microwave pulls 1600 watts. I'm not quite sure how that works. I did have a friend explain it to me. So the microwave took about 1600 watts, but it ran no worries. But it took 18% to run off this, just to heat up one frozen meal, as opposed to 18% for a huge load of washing, or 8 or 9% for a normal load. So every time you put a frozen meal in the microwave, you're using more electricity than what you are running a load of washing in the machine. Right, with all that said and done, let's talk about the solar panels. Now here's my solar panels. They're leaning up on that table. I've got the table leaning down and it's sitting nice and flat. You can use the bag as a kickstand to hold this up, but the sides will sort of droop down a little bit. It works and it comes in very handy, but I prefer to lean it up against something like this, and then I can bring it around here into the shade and we can see how it's working. Now when you first take the solar panels out of the bag, they come in and they're a very tight fit. They're sort of fan folded, and for quite a while they'll be pointy and it's really annoying. You think they're not going to work, but if you just leave them out straight for 20 minutes or half an hour, they'll lay straight like that, no worries at all. Now let's plug this in and I'll show you how it works. Right, I'm around the back of the panel here. Now these cords are attached to the panel. This cord comes with the panel. Now you've got to plug this in because this is the cord that plugs the panel into the Ecoflow. Now don't worry if this looks confusing, because you can only do it one way. That won't go that way, so it has to go into that one. It can only go one way, so you can't get it wrong. And then you simply just plug the orange port here into the orange plug on the Ecoflow. It's foolproof, you can't get it wrong. Right, now we're down really low and I'm going to plug this in. Now this is off. You'll see on the front here that it's off. There's no wording. When I plug this in, you might hear it beep. Plugging this in turns it on. I'll see if I can quickly lift it up closer to my microphone so you can hear it. I've plugged in now. Did you hear the beep? I hope the microphone picked it up. Now, I'm not sure how well this is working because I've got a lot of reflection behind me. I'm holding the camera in my hand and you can see there it's charging at 195 watts. That's a really good charge rate. It's currently 35% capacity, and at that rate it'll take a bit from 35%, it'll take 4 hours to charge. So it's a 35%, it's charging at 195 watts and it'll take 4 hours to charge. That's charging at almost twice the speed of what it will charge from the cigarette lighter in my car. Right, now this is charging at 195 watts per hour. This is a 220 watt bifacial solar panel. That doesn't mean you're always going to get 220 watts. They rate that because they test them under standard testing conditions, which might be 25 degrees for 1 hour at 90 degrees, or I don't know. Sometimes you'll get a bit more. I've actually had this charging at over 230 watts, but at any given time when I sit it outside and face the sun, I can expect to get around about 180 watts if there's no clouds in the sky on a beautiful day like today. You can fine tune it. What I normally do, I put a can on there, and if the can casts a shadow either way, I move the solar panels. Once the can's not casting any shadow, that means it's coming in at the perfect angle, and that'll get me 220 watts. But within 10 minutes, the sun will have moved off a little bit and it'll start going back down. But for any part of the day, without running any tests or any experiments, if you just go and sit it out in the sun, it should get around about 220 watts. Now it is bifacial. What that means is it's actually got solar panels on the back. So if there's any ambient light coming in from behind, that will help. Now, I'm leaning this up against a white table, so there could be a little bit of extra charge coming from the back, although I do think that the bifacial solar panels are probably better operated off the ground, where they can get more light from the ground underneath beaming back up on them, or in a row of solar panels where they're all lined up in a row, where the sun will hit that panel and reflect to the back of the panel in front of it. But it might help with a panel like this, who knows. But at the moment, 195 watts without taking too much time to line it up, I'm pretty happy with that. Of all the many amazing things that I've been sent over the years to review on my channel, this is one of my favourites. I love this, I use it every single day. Now, it's not just handy around the house, it's handy in a caravan, it's handy on camping trips because you can charge phones, run appliances, you can even take an air fryer and cook chips around the campsite if you want to. It's handy to have as a backup power supply. 1 kilowatt is a lot of power. You can charge it and sit it in the corner, And then if the power goes out, you can plug your fridge in. That runs my fridge for 24 hours in the kitchen. That's a great device, I really love it. Folks, there will be links in the video description below to where you can find these online on Amazon and at the Ecoflow website, and information about my discount code, which will be Robbie Delta 5, where you can save 5% if you choose to buy one. Folks, thank you all very much for watching.